Well, food prices remained largely unchanged in December, but according to the latest inflation numbers, there were some categories like meat prices that were on the rise. But could there be signs that prices will drop?
Well, joining us live this morning is Mike Van Massa, food economist and professor at the University of Guelph. Appreciate the time this morning. You know, Mike, as you well know, Canadians love beef, love red meat. It's kind of a staple protein in a lot of diets. But, you know, paying for it these days has become, problematic in some cases. Bill just used the example of, 2 steaks at a, fairly common grocery store for about $60. What is going on with the price of beef specifically? Because it is going well beyond the regular food inflation.
Well, the price of beef is really kind of a hangover from dry weather in Western Canada for 2 or 3 years ago. For 2 or 3 years, it also happened in the U.S. And so we have cattle herds that are at the lowest that they've been in almost 40 years. And if you think population has grown, cows are the factory of the beef industry. And so with fewer cows, we have fewer calves and less beef. And so we're just taking a while for those herds to rebuild. Actually, in December, we saw beef relatively flat. So maybe we've sort of absorbed all of the price increases and maybe it won't get worse as we go forward. Not going to get better in the short run, but it won't get worse.
Yeah, I guess that's some positive news if you love to barbecue. But this is definitely bad news for people who are creatures of habit, right? Like if you buy beef every week, that's what you're going to continue to do. So guess what? You're going to have to continue paying those high prices. So clearly this is just a supply and demand issue. What other areas besides meat are you seeing that kind of food inflation creep up?
Well, you're exactly right, because that number we hear every month that says what's happened in the last year is kind of an average. And we know beef was quite a bit higher than that. We know coffee is quite a bit higher than that. And again, it's bad weather. Coffee is kind of the canary in the coal mine for warming, and it's very susceptible. So yields have gone down. And again, we're drinking just as much coffee as we always have. And so demand is pushing those prices up. Again, we saw coffee sort of ease up a little bit in December. We saw prices of lettuce really high in November. That was a short-term production thing in Southern California. Those prices should get better as we get into the new year. So there is some room for optimism, as you said in the intro. Yeah.
Professor, as a food economist, one thing about economy is, you talk about supply and demand. There's also competition. And we've seen in Canadian grocery stores lately, the increasing number of, steaks from, say, New Zealand, other areas, which are significantly cheaper than, the Canadian produced steaks here. Do you see that as having any potential impact on bringing the price down? Or is the price so fixed based on all those factors that you've described already?
Well, we have to balance supply and demand. If prices come down in Canada too much, we won't see as much beef produced in Canada. So yeah, I think that imported beef, which in my view isn't quite as nice, but it is good, will sort of buffer how much those Canadian prices can go up. So I think seeing some of that international beef come in will provide an option for Canadians.
Yeah, okay. That is Mike Van Massa, food economist and professor at the University of Guelph. Thanks for giving us the lowdown on beef this morning. Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.